Hey, what's going on, guys? This is AndrewChicken, and welcome back to another update video. I am recording this moments after ending a live stream on my YouTube and Twitch channels because Valve decided to drop an update in the middle of my freaking stream. What the heck? So yeah, I'm going to cover everything in this update. It's a pretty minor update, but they have one very major rework for the Rejuvenator. That's right, they have already reworked it into something totally different, so I'm going to break down how it works for you and cover the other balance changes. So yeah, as always, if you want to follow along, a link to the patch notes will be in the description down below. And also, if you appreciate my update coverage and all the other videos that I've been making on my channel, then I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe. It helps you stay up to date with all my latest videos, including patch notices such as these, and it also really helps me out in the algorithm as well. So yeah, I'd really appreciate that. But let's go ahead and take down the Rejuvenator here. And let me show you what the new Rejuvenator does. And actually, I do also need to summon some teammates real quick. So let me just get a bunch of teammates here, and I'll go ahead and spawn the enemy team as well. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. So let's take this Rejuv down, and let me show you how the new crystal works, because it is a doozy. Very interesting new Rejuv. So, we're back down to just one Rejuv crystal dropping in the middle here. And it's really big. I actually quite like the new model, but the Rejuvenator text is kind of stuck in the middle. It looks a little weird. But yeah, we can go ahead and punch this, and you'll notice that yeah, the Rejuvenator actually persists here, and it fragments into shards, just like this. We can go ahead and punch it 2 more times, and then boom, the Rejuvenator goes away. And you'll see that everyone on my team has the Rejuvenator buff now, and we have 3 Rejuv icons on the top middle of the screen, right next to that little mini-map there. So, how does this work? Well, it's kind of in between the original Rejuvenator and the Rejuvenator Rework that they did a couple of weeks ago. So, let me explain. So obviously, you should remember the original Rejuvenator that we had. You would punch the crystal once, it would give the buff to your entire team, and then if a teammate died with the Rejuvenator on them, they would have a drastically reduced respawn time, and the Rejuvenator would be taken away from that individual person. And as long as they had the Rejuvenator buff, they would get some pretty massive buffs. Then, they did the Rejuv Rework, and made it so that 3 or 4 crystals would spawn when you killed the mid-boss, and whoever punched the crystal would get their own personal Rejuv buff. So not everybody on the team would have a Rejuv. At least 2 or 3 people would be left out. And if they died with the Rejuv crystal, they would respawn in place, and they would lose their Rejuv buff. But as long as they had the Rejuv, again, they would get pretty massive buffs. This new Rejuv crystal really is kind of an in-between. So right now, every single person on my team has the Rejuvenator, and they have these buffs. Increased health, increased fire rate, and increased spirit damage, although they have slightly nerfed the fire rate and the health from what they were before, down to 15%. And if someone on my team dies, let me go ahead and take control of one of these enemies here and just buy some stuff. Glass cannon, lucky shot, max level, boom. And I go ahead and kill one of these guys. You'll see that they do still respawn in place 3 seconds later. And you'll see that on the top of the screen, we lost one of our Rejuv credits. And so, that's basically how the new Rejuv works. You have Rejuv credits that are shared by your entire team, and as long as you have Rejuv credits, your team will have the Rejuvenator until it despawns after 4 minutes. If someone on the team dies, you lose a Rejuv credit, they respawn in place, and then they lose access to the Rejuv buff. And if I go ahead and kill 2 more enemies, just like this, all our Rejuv credits go away, and then the entire team loses the Rejuv buff. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting new Rejuvenator concept, one that I actually quite like as of right now. And I'm going to go ahead and kill the mid-boss again, just to show you another very interesting thing about this new Rejuv that some bright-minded viewers of mine might have already caught on to. And that's the fact that both teams can have the Rejuv at the same time. So, I'm going to punch this crystal twice. Wabam, wabam, and then I'm going to go ahead and switch on over to one of these enemies here, and I'm going to have them punch the Rejuv crystal. Wabam, and wabam. And would you look at that? Everyone in this lobby right now has a Rejuv crystal. Oh my gosh. So yeah, this works pretty much the way you would expect. Both teams have 2 Rejuv credits. As soon as 2 people die, then the Rejuv buff will be taken away from that team. So yeah, I can go ahead and kill enemy number 1. He respawns in place. Enemy number 2, he respawns in place. Rejuv buff has been taken away from the team. And that's that, and we still have our Rejuv buff because no one has died yet, so we all have 15% extra health, fire rate, and spirit damage. So yeah, this really is kind of meeting in the middle between the two Rejuv buffs, the original one and the reworked one, and my first impressions are that this looks pretty good. The main thing that I really didn't like about the reworked Rejuvenator was that, well, you could just be left out, you know? You could have participated in a powerful team wipe, made the Rejuv call, come down here, help take the Rejuv boss out, just to not end up with a crystal. And you wouldn't have a buff, and it just felt really crummy. I didn't like it. That wasn't fun. Now with this, everybody still gets a Rejuv buff. You get that full, powerful team-wide buff from the original Rejuv, but it's not as oppressive because you only need to kill 3 or 4 people to completely end the Rejuvenator. But it is more powerful in the sense that they will still respawn back in place, and so if you're not diligent, then yeah, they will still be able to steamroll you. So maybe this is actually a little bit too powerful now, maybe they've overcorrected, but it also, you know, it seems like they're going in the right direction for me, and I do like that we're back to a team-wide, just because, like I said, it really sucks to be left out. But yeah, this is another very big change for the Rejuv. They are really working hard to try and make this the best Rejuv that they can. I'm really impressed with how quickly they've iterated on this based on community feedback about what they like and don't like about the old Rejuvs. So let me know what you think in the comments, and also make sure to leave your thoughts on the Deadlock forums as well, where Valve themselves are more likely to read your comment. And yeah, I look forward to reading your replies, because this is really, really interesting. But yeah, let's talk about the other couple of balance changes now. There are only a few more things to discuss this update. One such change is to the bucket system that they introduced in the last update. If you aren't aware, basically,
this is a bucket.
Dear God.
There's more.
No.
they divided all characters into 3 separate buckets, and this determines their dash speed. So there's a plus 5% bucket, a minus 5% bucket, and a minus 15% bucket in terms of how it affects each character's dash speed. So characters like Mokrill and Abrams were put into bucket 3 and had 15% reduced dash speed. That has been buffed this patch. Instead of minus 15%, it's now only minus 10%. So Mokrill, Abrams, characters like that, real beefcakes that had slow dash speed, have just been made a little bit faster, and it does feel a lot better already. So yeah, really nice change. Next, they gave Seven a couple of nerfs that really impact his early game pretty hard. So his base sprint speed has been cut in half, from 2 down to 1. That's pretty big. His base regen has been reduced from 1.5 health per second down to 1 health per second, so he's going to be really dependent on items like extra regen now to stay alive on lane. And his base health has gone down from 700 to 650, so 7 is really squishy on lane now. He's going to find it just a little bit harder to maneuver around, and he's going to find it super hard to keep his health topped off because, well, he doesn't have a lot of health to begin with now, and he doesn't heal it back fast at all. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with these nerfs. 7 is a ludicrously powerful character, and he can still ramp up into a monstrous late game, but he has to survive the early game first now. However, some changes that I am not happy with are these Shiv Buffs. And yes, you heard me right, I used Shiv and Buff in the same sentence. I don't know if I'm just playing a different version of Deadlock than what other people are playing, because I do think some people are happy about these changes, and certainly Valve decided that these changes were worth making, but in my opinion, Shiv absolutely did not need any buffs at all. He's a ridiculously powerful character, super difficult to kill, and he has an execute, which makes him a huge benefit to his team in a team fight, because he can just go around tanking up damage and killing people. But apparently they decided that Shiv was simply way too squishy, and we can't have that, so they have giga-buffed Bloodletting. Let's take a look at these changes. First of all, the cooldown has been reduced on Bloodletting from 45 seconds down to 25 seconds. And to compensate, the Bloodletting Tier 1 cooldown has been increased from minus 25 seconds to minus 10 seconds. So the Tier 1 is less impactful now, but ultimately, if you do end up getting that Tier 1, you still have a 5-second faster Bloodletting now. Bloodletting's Tier 2 has been buffed from 6% extra deferred damage to 10% extra deferred damage, and the base deferred damage has gone up from 20% to 25%. So if we go ahead and get this Tier 2 online, we now have 35% incoming damage deferred. And then, as if that wasn't enough, they increase the damage deferred when you're at max rage from 14% to 15%. So if I'm raging, 50% incoming damage is now deferred. What the heck? What the heck? That's so busted. Like, because Shiv can stack a ton of armor, he can stack a ton of healing, and he can heal all that deferred damage back up. In the last update, they made it take literally half as long to deal the damage. They nerfed the duration from 12 seconds to 6 seconds, so he does take the deferred damage much faster now. But still, come on, that's 6 whole seconds that he has to heal back up 50% of the damage he's taking, potentially, when you max that out. That's... I don't know. I don't know why they did this. To me, it feels like a totally backwards change that Shiv absolutely didn't need, because in my opinion, Shiv was absolutely fantastic. Still a very powerful character after the last update, and yeah, most of the Shivs I've gone against or have encountered in the wild have been menaces. Menaces to society. So, I'd really love to hear your thoughts on this change in the comment section down below, because I want to know, first of all, am I off base? Am I crazy for thinking he didn't need this buff? Am I truly playing just a different version of Deadlock than everyone else? Or, yeah, is this change just crazy, and they shouldn't have done this? Let me know, I want to hear your thoughts. Anyways, back to sensible changes. The last character to talk about here is Vyper, who has received some nerfs. So, her gun cycle time has been increased from 0.063 to 0.07. What the heck does that mean? Basically, her fire rate is a little tiny bit slower, so that's going to result in a little bit less DPS overall. The slide tier 1 has been reduced from 25% extra slide distance to 20% extra slide distance, so it's going to be a little bit harder to maintain that infinite ammo while sliding, but still, obviously, once you get burst fire online, you're going to be pretty much chilling. That's still a lot of free infinite ammo, but she is going to have to reload more now, probably, from that change. Her headshot crit value has also been reduced from 80% to 70%, so headshots do less damage on this character now than they did before. And finally, they did some fixes to her hitbox and its size in some areas, so I believe that change is just going to make it a little bit more intuitive to actually hit Vyper while she's sliding around and doing silly Vyper shenanigans. But overall, I think Vyper's still probably going to be pretty good on the damage front. She's just been toned down slightly, and I definitely think that's necessary because Vyper absolutely deletes people once she gets going. So yeah, that is pretty much going to do it for my coverage of this update. Let me know what you think about the update in the comments section down below, and as always, if you found my coverage to be helpful, then make sure that you're subscribed down below and like the video as well. Also, if you want to find people to play with, you can check out my Discord server, link down below. I really don't advertise it enough, but we have a lot of people over there who can help you get Deadlock if you don't have it already, or who can just play with you, you know? Find some people to play and dominate games with. But yeah, with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you all next time. Peace out.